this bicycle I want to take down to Georgia with me, and I've hooked these batteries up. It has three 12-volt batteries wired in series, so we have 36 volts. The thing hasn't been working as the way I feel like it should. It runs a little while and then it acts like it's losing power or going dead. And I got to looking at the way someone has wired it here, and here is the wire that goes down to the control box, which goes to the engine, and then they've got it run to this wire. And if you look at this wire here, pretty thin wire. This is a plug that we used to use back in the old days, the kind of plug we would use to wire like a CB radio. And here's a spot on the wire here where it actually looks a little bit like it got overheated or something, and there's a hole in this plug. I'm thinking the same thing. And this plug, this is the part that goes to the battery, that's actually melting. See that area right there where there's a big hole in that, and down in here, that's melting. That's overheating and it's cooking. And my thinking is, they got a big wire that runs to the battery on both sides, but then they got this little bitty plug. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this plug and I'm going to mount it. It is set up so that you're going to have a positive and a negative side, and I'm going to keep track of which side is positive and which side is negative, so that when I wire the part that goes to the motor, I keep that consistent. For example, this red wire that goes to the motor or the controller goes into this black wire, which is that's a male, this is a female, but then the black wire goes into a red wire, and the red wire goes into a positive. So this is actually the positive side, and this is the positive side, but it's hard to tell after it crosses so many different colored wires. And on the other side, the red wire, which would go to the other side of this, is actually hooked to the black wire, which I'm guessing, well, we can look and see. I'm guessing if we follow that down, that's going to take us right here to the negative side. So this is the negative side. But if you go by the color coding here, you wouldn't realize that, or it wouldn't make sense. So I need to kind of bypass, do away with all of that and fix it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use one side of this plug to come from the controller. This should be a heavy enough wire here to be enough to carry that, and a heavy enough plug to carry that. And I'm going to use this other piece to go to the battery charger. And if you look at the battery charger, these wires are heavier. Looks like they're heavier than these wires here. And you've also got, see how that's, looks like it's cooking on the end. Got some heat stuff happening there. So yeah, so over here I'll use this plug. Now what it'll mean is when this is plugged in, the hot wire will be exposed. But I'd rather have that than have the hot wire from the battery exposed here, because I want the hot wire from the battery to be enclosed. I don't know if y'all are following me. In the same way here, I would rather the hot wire be exposed from the motor, because the energy is coming from the battery into this, and that's going to be hot all the time if the battery's hooked up. I might have lost some of you on that, but if so, it'll all become more apparent as we go along. The other thing about this is it needs to be set up so that you can, when you can lift these batteries up off of the bike, which is going to mean that that these wires, basically any way you go about it, I'm gonna, if I lift this up off the bike for transporting this, say on a bicycle ride down to Georgia, then either way you go about it, you're going to have to come over here on this side and unplug this battery, and on the other side you're going to do the same thing, unplug the other battery. Okay, so enough talk. I'll wire it all up and then we'll come back.